First Contact Fallout. The crystalline observatory of the Caldari scientific vessel, Luminous Harmony, hummed with activity as Chief Observer Talon studied the blue-green world before them, Earth. The third planet of an unremarkable yellow star, yet remarkable for the species that had evolved there. The humans. Remarkable resilience, Talon murmured, his translucent fingers tracing the holographic display. From stone tools to space travel in less than 10,000 cycles. Most species take 3 times as long. Science Director Nilara floated beside him, her bioluminescent skin pulsing with cautious excitement. That acceleration concerns the High Council. Evolutionary leaps of this magnitude usually come with complications. You mean war, Talon said flatly. Yes, our initial observations suggest they've spent much of their history in conflict, but they've unified enough to reach beyond their world. That suggests maturity. The Caldari had discovered Earth 6 cycles ago, observing from the edges of the solar system. Their civilization, spanning 17 star systems, had encountered 12 other sentient species in their 50,000 cycle history. All first contacts had been peaceful. The Caldari philosophy of harmonious ascension preached that violence was the domain of primitive minds, to be outgrown like children's toys. But humans were different. We have movement, announced navigation specialist Farron, his voice rippling through the ship's communal consciousness. A vessel has departed from Earth's orbital defense perimeter. Trajectory suggests it's heading directly toward our position. Talon felt a flutter of unease through his central nervous column. They've detected us. How? Our cloaking field should be impenetrable to their technology. Unknown, Farron replied. But their course is precise. No deviation. They know exactly where we are. The holographic display shifted, revealing the approaching Earth vessel. Unlike the elegant crystalline design of Caldari ships, grown rather than built, the human craft was angular, metallic, and bristling with what could only be weapon systems. Its hull was painted a deep charcoal gray with minimal markings, giving it a predatory appearance against the void of space. Magnify, ordered Talon. The image zoomed in, revealing the ship's designation in human script. UEAs, T-A-U-N-D-R-C-A. Halted. A warship, whispered Nilara, her skin darkening with concern. They've sent a warship for first contact. Perhaps it's merely their most advanced vessel, suggested Talon, though doubt tinged his harmonic voice. I recommend we retreat, Farron said firmly. Our mission was observation only. We are not equipped for confrontation. Talon hesitated. The Caldari had never fled from contact with another species. It went against their deepest cultural values. No, we will maintain position and prepare to communicate. Activate translation algorithms and ready our greeting protocols. Chief Observer, Nilara's voice had taken on a rare forceful quality. At minimum, we should scan their vessel, assess their capabilities before establishing communication. After a moment's consideration, Talon nodded. Initiate a quantum resonance scan. Passive only. We don't want to appear aggressive. The scan began, invisible waves of energy washing over the approaching human vessel. What returned shook the Caldari to their core. This cannot be correct, stammered Nilara, her tendrils writhing in distress as data flooded their systems. Their weapons capacity, it's beyond anything we've encountered. Kinetic projectile accelerators, directed energy weapons, and is that antimatter containment? Farron's voice was tight with alarm. Their armor could withstand direct hits from our most powerful defensive measures. And their engines, they're manipulating space-time itself for propulsion. But why? Whispered Talon. Why would a species build such instruments of destruction for traveling to the stars? The answer came in the form of a communication alert. The human ship was hailing them. On the holographic projector appeared a human female. Her skin was brown, her black hair cut short against her skull. She wore a dark uniform with symbols of rank on the shoulders and collar. Her expression was alert but calm. "This is Captain Sarah Rice of the United Earth ship Thunderchild to unidentified vessel. We have detected your scan of our ship. Be advised that deep scanning without prior communication is considered a potential hostile action under UE protocols." The Caldari communication system automatically translated her words, but there was something in her tone, a controlled tension, that needed no translation. "However," she continued, "as this appears to be a first contact situation, we will overlook this breach of protocol. We extend greetings from Earth and the United Earth government. We come in peace and request dialogue." The contradiction was jarring to the Caldari consciousness. The human spoke of peace while commanding a vessel designed for war. "We should respond," Talon said, collecting himself. He stepped forward, allowing his image to be transmitted to the human ship. "Greetings, Captain Rice. I am Chief Observer Talon of the Caldari Confederation. We apologize for the unauthorized scan. It was conducted out of scientific curiosity, not hostile intent. We too desire peaceful communication." Captain Rice's expression softened slightly. "Understood, Observer Talon. May I ask why the Caldari Confederation has been observing Earth without making contact?" "We follow a protocol of non-interference until we determine a species is ready for interstellar relations," Talon explained. "We were still in the assessment phase." A slight smile touched the human's lips. "And now you've been forced to accelerate your timeline. I understand your scan has likely revealed much about us. I imagine some of it is concerning to your people." The directness was surprising. Most species would pretend ignorance or offense. This human acknowledged the reality with remarkable calm. "Your military capacity is unexpected," Talon admitted cautiously. "As is your complete lack of defensive systems," countered Rice. "Different evolutionary paths, different solutions. The universe is not always kind." While this exchange occurred, the Caldari High Council was receiving the transmission. Elder Xoran, the most conservative voice on the council, was particularly alarmed. "This species represents an existential threat," he declared to his fellow council members. "Their history is bathed in blood. Their technology bent toward destruction. We cannot allow them to spread beyond their system." In a separate chamber aboard the Luminous Harmony, Commander Kelvin of the ship's small security contingent agreed with Elder Xoran's assessment. Unlike most Caldari, who had evolved beyond violent impulses, the security forces retained a vestigial capacity for protective aggression, carefully controlled and rarely needed. "We should neutralize this threat now," Kelvin suggested to Elder Xoran through a private channel. "One ship, isolated from their fleet, we could prevent a future catastrophe." "The High Council has not authorized hostile action," Xoran reminded him, though his harmonic voice betrayed his temptation. "The Council moves too slowly. By the time they decide, these humans could have called reinforcements. Our long-range sensors already detect energy signatures from their system, more ships preparing to launch." Back in the observatory, Talon and Captain Rice were discussing the possibility of a formal diplomatic meeting when alarms shrieked through the Luminous Harmony. "What's happening?" demanded Talon. "Commander Kelvin has activated our defensive pulse generator," cried Varen. "He's targeting the human vessel." "Abort," ordered Talon, but it was too late. A wave of disruptive energy erupted from the Caldari ship, speeding toward the Thunderchild. On the communication display, Captain Rice's expression hardened. "So much for peaceful dialogue," she said, her voice cold as she barked orders to her crew. "Shields up. Evasive maneuvers." The energy pulse struck the human vessel and dissipated harmlessly against an invisible barrier. The Thunderchild didn't even shudder. "Impossible," whispered Nilara. Their defensive field absorbed a Class 9 disruptive pulse, like it was nothing. What happened next stunned the Caldari even further. Rather than returning fire, the Thunderchild maintained position. Captain Rice reappeared on the communication display. "I'm going to assume that attack was not authorized by your leadership, Observer Talon," she said, her voice tight but controlled. Because if it was, this conversation would be over, and your ship would already be disabled. Talon's tendrils trembled with a mixture of shame and relief. It was not authorized, Captain. I offer my deepest apologies. There are factions among my people who fear what your species represents. And what exactly is that, observer? Talon hesitated, then decided honesty was the only path forward. A paradox, a species that builds instruments of incredible destruction while speaking of peace, a people whose history is marked by violence, yet who reach for the stars with open hands. You terrify us, Captain Reyes. The human's expression softened slightly. We terrify ourselves sometimes, observer. But we've learned that in a universe of unknowns, being prepared for the worst while hoping for the best is how we survive. Now shall we start again? This time with all cards on the table. In the background, Talon could sense the Caldari High Council in furious debate. The future of two civilizations hung in the balance, and the next word spoken would determine whether that future held friendship or conflict. The language of strength. Captain Sarah Reyes stood on the bridge of the UES Thunderchild, outwardly calm despite the chaos of the last few minutes. The alien vessel, the Caldari ship, had fired upon them, yet she had chosen restraint. Now she watched the swirling, luminescent form of Observer Talon on the view screen, waiting for his response. Captain, Lieutenant Commander Javier Rodriguez whispered from the tactical station, "We have target lock on 3 critical systems of their vessel. Say the word, and we can disable them without casualties." Reyes gave a subtle shake of her head. 20 years in the United Earth Navy had taught her that the first shot was rarely the most important one in any confrontation. It was what came after that determined everything. "We shall indeed start again, Captain Reyes," Talon finally replied, his voice carrying an odd harmonic quality even through the translation system. "But first, I must address the actions of my subordinate." The view screen split, showing a second Caldari. This one's luminescence pulsed with darker colors, its tendrils held rigid in what Reyes interpreted as defiance. "I am Commander Kelvin," the new alien stated. "I ordered the defensive pulse. I believe your vessel represented an immediate threat to Caldari security." "Based on what evidence, Commander?" Reyes asked, keeping her voice neutral. "Your entire history is evidence." Kelvin's colors flashed with intensity. "Our scan revealed your species has spent millennia perfecting the art of killing each other. Your technological advancement has been driven primarily by warfare. Your ship carries enough firepower to devastate a world. And yet we haven't fired a single shot," Reyes pointed out, "despite your unprovoked attack." This simple observation seemed to confuse Kelvin. His colors dimmed slightly. "What my colleague fails to understand," Talon interjected, "is the context of your development. The Caldari evolved on a world with few predators and abundant resources. Cooperation was naturally advantageous. We outgrew violence because we rarely needed it. While humans evolved on a world that tried to kill us at every turn," Reyes said. "Predators, diseases, natural disasters, harsh climates, and that was before we started fighting each other." "Precisely," said Talon. "Different evolutionary pressures, different solutions." A new figure appeared on the view screen. An older Caldari, its form more intricate and luminescent patterns more complex. "I am Elder Xorin of the Caldari High Council," the newcomer announced. "Captain Reyes, your restraint is noted, but it does not erase our concerns. A predator that chooses not to strike once may still strike later." Reyes nodded, understanding the alien's perspective even if she disagreed with it. "Elder Xorin, humanity's history is indeed violent. We don't deny this. But we've also created art that can move one to tears, music that can heal wounded souls, and philosophies that reach for understanding beyond our own experience. We build warships not because we desire war, but because we've learned the hard way that peace must sometimes be protected." "An interesting philosophy," Elder Xorin replied, his tone suggesting he found it anything but. One might say convenient for a species so adept at violence. Before Reyes could respond, her communications officer interrupted. Captain, we're receiving an emergency transmission from Admiral Cheng. Priority Alpha. Excuse me a moment, Reyes said to the Caldari. She nodded to her comm officer, and Admiral Cheng's face appeared on a secondary screen. Captain Reyes, are you still in contact with the alien vessel? Cheng asked without preamble. Yes, Admiral. We had a minor incident, but listen carefully. Long-range sensors have detected a massive energy signature entering the solar system. Unknown configuration, but it's big and it's fast. ETA to your position. 22 minutes. Could be related to your new friends, could be something else entirely. Reinforcements are on the way, but you're all we've got out there for now. Understood, Admiral. Reyes turned back to the main view screen where the Caldari were waiting. Elder Thorin, Observer Talon, we're detecting another vessel approaching at high speed. Is this more of your people? The reaction was immediate and unmistakable. The Caldari representative's colors paled dramatically. Show us your sensor readings, demanded Talon, all diplomatic pretense forgotten. Reyes nodded to her science officer, who transmitted the data. The response was not encouraging. Harbingers, whispered Elder Thorin, his form now almost white with what Reyes interpreted as fear. They've followed us here. I take it these harbingers aren't friendly, Reyes said. They are the reason we evolved beyond violence, Talon explained quickly. Not from choice, but necessity. The harbingers nearly eradicated our species 10,000 cycles ago. We survived by hiding, by becoming invisible to their senses. They perceive aggression, the biochemical signatures of species capable of violence. Which is why you're so disturbed by humanity, Reyes realized. We must light up their sensors like a supernova. Yes, and now they have found us because we have found you. Talon's colors shifted to deep blues. We must flee immediately. What about Earth? Reyes demanded. If these harbingers can sense aggression, my entire planet is in danger. There is nothing we can do, Elder Thorin stated flatly. The harbingers are unstoppable. Their technology far exceeds even yours. They will cleanse this system as they have 1,000 others. Reyes felt cold anger building within her. Not at the Caldari, but at the situation, at the arrogance of these harbingers who appointed themselves cosmic exterminators. We don't accept that outcome, she said firmly. Admiral Cheng is sending reinforcements, but we need to know what we're dealing with. Tell us everything about these harbingers. Now. The information the Caldari provided painted a grim picture. The harbingers were an ancient mechanical species who had evolved beyond biological constraints. They viewed aggressive species as a cosmic infection, to be sterilized without mercy or hesitation. Their ships were massive, city-sized vessels with energy weapons that could crack a planet's crust. But as Reyes listened, an idea began to form. You said they sense aggression, the biochemical signatures of violence. But what about our technology? Can they detect our weapons if they're powered down? No, admitted Talon. Their sensors are attuned to biological patterns, not technology itself. And your ships, they're essentially invisible to them. Yes, we evolved our technology to mimic natural phenomena. To them, our vessels appear as common space debris. Reyes leaned forward. Then I have a plan, but it will require something that may be difficult for your people, Elder Thorin. What is that, Captain? Trust. Trust in a species that terrifies you. 20 minutes later, when the Harbinger vessel arrived, a massive construct of dark metal and pulsing energy that dwarfed both the Thunderchild and the luminous Harmony, it found what appeared to be a damaged Earth vessel and a cluster of space debris. The Thunderchild floated with minimal power, its weapon systems cold, while the crew maintained a state of artificial calm, achieved through meditation techniques and temporary medication. The Caldari ship had nestled against the Thunderchild's hull, its crystalline structure reconfigured to resemble asteroid fragments from a recent collision. The Harbinger scanned the area, its sensors sweeping across both ships. Inside the Thunderchild, Rais held her breath. The plant relied entirely on the Harbinger's reliance on their specialized sensors designed to detect the biochemical signatures of violent intent, not the dormant weapon systems that could actually threaten them. Minutes passed. The Harbinger continued its scan, moving closer. Then, seemingly satisfied that whatever violent species it had detected earlier was no longer present, it adjusted course and accelerated toward Earth. "Now," ordered Rais. The Thunderchild roared to life, engines flaring as it surged forward. But instead of attacking, it executed a complex maneuver, positioning itself between the Harbinger and Earth while transmitting on all frequencies. "Attention, unknown vessel. This is Captain Sarah Rais of the United Earth ship Thunderchild. You are entering protected space. State your intentions or be fired upon." The Harbinger slowed, clearly confused by the sudden appearance of aggression, where moments ago it had detected none. It scanned the Thunderchild again, its sensors recalibrating. Meanwhile, the luminous Harmony had detached from the Thunderchild and was now executing its own part of the plan. Using technology the Caldari had developed over millennia of hiding from the Harbingers, they began projecting false biosignatures, making it appear as though thousands of aggressive entities were suddenly materializing throughout the solar system. The Harbinger's sensors were overwhelmed with contradictory data. It paused, processing, uncertain. That moment of hesitation was all the time needed. The reinforcements Admiral Cheng had promised arrived. 5 Earth battleships dropping out of FTL, weapons hot. Together with the Thunderchild, they surrounded the Harbinger vessel. "This is Captain Sarah Rais to Harbinger vessel. We know why you're here. We know what you do to worlds like ours. But today, something unprecedented has happened. 2 species, one peaceful, one you would call aggressive, have joined together. The Caldari have shown us that there are other paths besides violence. And we have shown them that sometimes strength is necessary to protect peace." There was no response from the Harbinger, but it made no move to attack. "You have a choice," Rais continued. "Leave this system and never return, or discover that humanity defends what it loves with everything it has. And right now, that includes the Caldari." For a tense moment, the outcome hung in the balance. Then, slowly, the Harbinger began to turn away from Earth. Its engines glowed as it accelerated, soon vanishing into the depths of space. Aboard the Thunderchild, humans cheered. Through the communication link, the sounds of Caldari harmonics, their equivalent of celebration, could be heard. Elder Xorin's image appeared on the view screen. The ancient Caldari's colors were bright with what Rais now recognized as wonder. "Captain Rais, it seems we have much to learn from each other. Your people's capacity for violence, which so terrified us, has proven to be the shield we needed, and perhaps our perspective can help humanity find new paths beyond conflict." "The universe is large," Elder Xorin, Rais replied with a smile. "Large enough for many kinds of wisdom, and many kinds of strength." As diplomatic talks began in earnest between Earth and the Caldari Confederation, a new understanding emerged. The paradox that had so disturbed the Caldari, humanity's capacity for both creation and destruction, for both violence and compassion, was not a flaw to be feared, but a complexity to be valued. In a universe where threats like the Harbingers existed, perhaps the ideal was not a species that had evolved beyond violence, nor one that embraced it too readily, but rather a balance between the two. Peace through understanding, yes, but also peace through strength when necessary. It was a lesson both species would carry forward as they faced the stars together.